One.
Good morning, everybody. So we're now on Unit 3, Lesson 3. Means we are basically more than halfway done the course. Only a unit and a half left, plus our two-day culminating, and then we have our final exam. So, we're getting there. Keep with it. I'm super happy with how everyone's been doing. Everyone's been keeping up with the work, submitting things on time. People are tending to do quite well. So just keep pounding away, and the course will be over before you know it. Today's lesson deals with a little bit of fact versus fiction, biographies, autobiographies, and we continue on with the process of creating and summarizing paragraphs. So the learning goal for today is to respond to a nonfiction narrative by successfully answering questions and independently writing an informational paragraph. What you're going to be asked to do today is I've given you a paragraph, a two-page little story on a broadcaster, a radio broadcaster who's actually blind. There's a number of questions that focus on the text. You're going to be asked to answer some questions. And as always, we want you to answer in full, complete sentences, rephrasing the question in the answer, as well as providing as much evidence and examples as you possibly can from the original text in your answer. The more that you prove what you say, it becomes very difficult for me to say you're wrong. So that's always a good technique to use in your writing. And then we're actually going to have you create an informational paragraph that's based on the same kind of idea that's found in the text. So let's take a look at what we have to do in the lesson today. So a little bit of information here about the concept of a biography and an autobiography, what each one is, and the angle that they generally take. We're going to ask you to take a look at what we call a web or a story web. Here, it helps you organize your ideas before you create a paragraph or before you create a story. It basically helps with the brainstorming process. Here's an audiovisual presentation on the web. I think it really explains it well. Interesting piece here about Leslie Martin, who was an American who was brought in by a couple of Canadians and educated. If you've seen the movie The Hurricane, focusing on Reuben Carter, the boxer who was imprisoned unlawfully, and kind of what happens in that movie is really the story of Leslie Martin's life. So interesting piece here about how he became a writer and a motivational speaker. We're going to learn more about both of them in the next activity. Before we proceed, let's review the concept of directly, indirectly, and making connections questions. This is what you're going to be doing in your questions. So here is what you're going to be doing, some questions. As it says, answer the questions. Be sure to explain the why you feel the way you do, using evidence directly from the article where applicable. And as always, use full, complete sentences. So we have our 3 directly stated ideas of information. This information is directly in the article. Some indirectly stated information, you're going to have to come up with some of this information on your own and in the article. And then finally, you're making a connection with your own beliefs and opinions. Our extension activity asks you to actually go ahead and write an information paragraph about, intended for an adolescent audience on the topic of applying to the radio broadcasting format at Fanshawe College, which we learned about in the reading that I've provided. Please use any available resources that you can. Use your own words, document all your sources, bold, underline, very important here, and polish your work before you submit. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to try to come up with 3 key things that are important about the program. Like, for example, offers a hands-on approach. Please don't use that one. That's mine. I'm giving you. Come up with 3 other things to use as your arguments, and you're going to use bring in some examples to back up that. For the body of the paragraph, you want to elaborate on each of the 3 points, including statements such as Fanshawe College is a great hands-on approach to learning, then support it with a quote or example, such as an appropriate quote from their website that outlines the hands-on approach, if you can find that. Again, this is the one that I've given you. Please don't use this. Come up with your own. Please do this for 3 key points. Use the highlighting strategy we did in our last unit in terms of to understand what the topic sentence is. Do your supporting point, evidence, second supporting point, evidence, third supporting point, evidence, and your conclusion sentence. Again, I've provided an area down here for you to do your works cited. Works cited is all the works that you actually cited in your piece. So you should have at least one source there. I'm asking you get at least one source from an outside source to back up what you're saying and use it as evidence. So obviously, because I've asked you to do that, you have to cite it, do your rough work here, and then finally your edited good copy all together in one document. Okay, so very similar to what we've been doing. I've talked about before the concept of education builds. We're really trying to build up to our culminating in our exam, where we're going to be doing a lot of the things, and you're going to be showing me that you're able to do those things on the exam. Okay, have a good time with this assignment. Use your imagination as well as do some research and come up with some ideas directly from that text. Okay, have a great day, everybody.